This is addressing women prisoners of war. This phenomenon, listen, this phenomenon is very negative from an ethical point of view. Women prisoners of war. Women fighting is a very ethical question. It's ethically, a lot of people don't feel it's ethical for women to have to be fighting and then taken captive, right? But when a woman is taken captive, whether she's fighting or whether she's just taken captive, out of her Abba and Ima's bayit, Devarim 21:10-13 teaches us we are not to mistreat women prisoners of war, but Israel is to give them, listen, comfort, haven, and marriage. Isn't that what Yahweh does for us? Comfort, haven, and marriage. So we as Israel, we are to battle the enemies of Yahweh when we are threatened, when our survival is at stake. But even when we have prisoners, or POWs, especially women, we must what? We must comfort them, give them haven, and marry them. What is marriage? Covenant, faithfulness to those people. Right? Because that's what Yahweh does to us, amen? He comforts us, gives us haven, and marries us. Amen? So when Israel goes to war, Israel is to give them comfort, haven, and marriage. We are not to abuse or misuse our women POWs. And look at this. Look at verse 14. It shall be, if you have no delight in her, you shall let her go wherever she wills. You shall not sell her at all for money, or you shall not make merchandise of her, because you have humbled her. We are not to sell them as property or as a prostitute or any other type of sale, because we are different from the heathen. We are what? Israel. So if a woman who is a POW takes captive, we treat them right, and at some point we marry them, and if they still don't find favor in our house and in our eyes, we give them a set-apart kiss. We release them to be on their own in Yahweh's care and preservation. We don't sell them as a slave. We don't market them as a prostitute. We take care of the women POWs, because we were once POWs in Mitzrayim.
You've been redeemed from captivity.
How different from the heathen. In Devarim 24:5, turn with me please, to Devarim 24:5. Devarim 24:5. The word of Yahweh says, when a man has taken a new wife, he shall not go to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home for 1 year and cheer up his wife, which he has taken. A couple of points. In the world, we get a weekend in the Poconos, or we get a weekend in Nevada, or we get a weekend in Niagara Falls. In those who obey Torah and the grace, or the chesed and rachamim of the Torah, get a full year off from work after their marriage. In other words, if you follow the Torah, you have a 1-year honeymoon. And Yahweh says, don't ask your boss or your employer, just take a year. What a mean Yahweh. What Jewish legalism. We don't want to, Rabbi, we got to go back to the church. Why? Because now you're getting us into that Jewish legalism. Oh, I see. Pardon me. Oh, you mean the Jewish legalism that gives you a year for your honeymoon? If that's Jewish legalism, baby, I need more legalism. More than that, I need more women. It says all you got to do to get women is go to war and be faithful and trust in Yahweh for the victory and be proactive and not reactive. And if you're not in the ministry, I'll give you women. So in the world, you got 5 wives, we're going to arrest you and take you to court, we're going to prosecute you and put you in jail. Because according to the social social laws of man, if you have more than one wife, you're a polygamist and you're violating the law and you're going to go to jail. In Torah, apparently, Yahweh doesn't put you in jail. He goes, the way to have more wives is to be more faithful to me and to be proactive. Now, unfortunately, I'm in the ministry from a woman point of view, from a female point of view. I can only have one. It says in 1 Timothy 4 that a servant or a diakonos or a teaching elder must be the husband of one wife. Yes. So I'm out of the picture right away. Okay? But Yahweh doesn't change. So I believe Yahweh allows that, but I'm not going to preach it, because if I preach it, half these guys are going to cancel the video. and the other half won't come back. And the third half, which doesn't exist, will go tell everybody in town that Rabbi Moshe is preaching polygamy. I'm not preaching polygamy. I'm telling you what the Torah says. How many wives you have is between you and Yahweh. Just don't bring more than one on Shabbat.
Only one wife.
That's true. But again, that's what the Torah preaches. The Torah teaches that a man can have more than one wife. Nowhere does Yeshua negate it. He said, I have not come to what? Negate the Torah, but to live it to its fullest. Now, Yeshua had no wife. Correct? So I'm not preaching polygamy, but I will tell you the Torah does not forbid it. The Torah, yeah, but the Torah does not forbid it. Now, it does create problems, having more than one wife. It does create major problems. And it could also take your heart away from the things of Yahweh. No comment. Don't try to get me in trouble. Okay. That's true. But that's not my message, so please. I don't want to get started. That's not my message. So when Israel is in a war, the woman shall be treated with respect, with decency, with comfort, given safe haven, and even marriage. But in a case where a husband and a wife marry each other and they are happily married, they have 1 year to get their act together. Now, let me look at this. I like the way the Torah puts this. Please don't leave here and say I'm preaching polygamy. If you come to me and say, can I have more than one wife or more than one husband, the answer is no. But I'll tell you no for different reasons. I'll give you reasons that it's not good to do that. But I won't tell you the Torah says that. The Torah doesn't say that. Okay, let's go to Devarim 24. So we go back to Devarim 24, and we see verse 5. When a man has taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war. We're talking about war. The decency of human life, the integrity of human life, the value of human life. Neither shall be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife which he has taken. The language of the scriptures is somewhat humorous in the sense that it could be here, we can see the wife needs to be cheered up, meaning she's bummed out. She realizes she thought she was getting a gold mine, and she wound up with an Edsel. And now she's depressed and bummed out. She goes, he was so nice to me. He opened doors. He lit candles. He kissed me. He bought rouge. He bought flowers. He bought candy. He sent me candy grams and treated me like a queen. And now I find out he's a bum. He won't pick up his socks. He doesn't want to work. He won't cook. He won't do nothing. He's like a Statue of Liberty in my house. So Yahweh says, now because you're turning out to be a bum, all right, that wife might need someone to stay home and cheer her up when she realizes the mistake she's made. Do you see that in the text? Why would the wife need to be cheered up? It says, so I'm going to give you a year honeymoon, Yahweh says, because your wife's going to see all your flaws and all your shortcomings, and you're going to have to cheer her up and walk her through all your shortcomings. Walk her through this, baby. It ain't going to be easy for her. Take it slow. She thought you were a man of Yahweh, and it turned out you're a man of Yahweh Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and the other 3 days you don't know if you're coming or going. I'm talking to somebody, huh? Now let's continue. So according to the Torah, the teaching on war vis-a-vis women is that war must be, write this down, conducted only in national preservation and defense. Number 2, with the higher standards of integrity and respect for human life, both the fighters and the captives. Israel must have the highest standard for human life, both the fighters and the POWs, the captives. In other words, among Israel, we cannot have an Abu Ghraib situation where we abuse our prisoners and have them perform atrocities and all kinds of abominations. Okay? We are to respect the prisoner, especially the woman prisoner, and even in a situation of war, a man is not allowed to send his wife to war. The woman is not allowed to send her husband to war. They must be home together to cheer each other up after realizing what a mistake they've made. Cheer up, honey. It's okay. We're just stuck with each other for life.
Another 10 months.
And everything will work out. Just cheer up. If you hang around 30 years, you'll see some of my good points. Now, the same regard for human dignity carries over from a prisoner of war situation to ordinary sinners and human beings. Now go back to our Parsha in Devarim 21. So the overriding heartbeat of Torah is Chesed, Rachamim, Yeshuat Nefesh, and the preservation of a human being's dignity. Even the prisoner of war, the woman that you marry, if she doesn't find favor in your eyes, you still cannot sell her to your brother, you still cannot sell her to your family, you still cannot push her out the door, and you cannot make merchandise out of her. You've got to give her her freedom in Yahweh to go find herself another faithful Israelite husband. Does that make sense? And they say this, well, the grace started at the cross. Really? What book are you reading, sweetheart? The grace of Torah was fully manifest in Yeshua, but it didn't start with Yeshua. It started with the giving of Yahweh's revelation to mankind. Yeshua brought that into reality, into simplicity, and he explained things that were in the Torah so that we could understand things in a simplistic, easy to comprehend manner, and he unfolded some of the deeper things to sow the revelation, the deep things of Yahweh when we needed to receive the deep things of Yahweh. But the grace, John 1:18, the grace that came by Moshe was manifest in Yeshua. That word "but" was added by the translators. Well, the law came by Moses, but grace came by JC. Baloney. That word "but" is not in the Greek, the Aramaic, or any other text. That word "but" is not in John 1:18.
No but.
The one who was in the bosom of Yahweh, who declared the Father, it says he declared what? He declared that that which was in the Torah, and the Torah came by Moshe, that same message came, the grace of that same document came by Yeshua. That's what it says in the Aramaic. The grace of that document came and was manifested by Yeshua.
Amen.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So the Torah teaches the great value of human life and dignity, even at the moment of man's greatest humiliation. What are two of the most possibly humiliating positions? Being captive, POW, and being condemned to death. Being a captive, POW, it is one of man's what? Low points in human dignity, in terms of the greatest humiliation. When a man is legally sentenced to death, either at the point of death or as a captive in a war, a human being is most vulnerable to humiliation. True? Who's more vulnerable than a captive? There's no food, there's no out, there's no door, they have no sustenance, they have no power, they have no manner to deliver themselves. So the Torah teaches that a captive is the most vulnerable individual in the human race, and therefore they should be treated with extra care and extra rachamim and extra love to the utmost degree, so that at the lowest point of their humiliation and danger, they are treated with the respect that only Israelites can give who follow the heartbeat of Yahweh. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Grace is everywhere in the Torah. Everywhere in the Torah. 1 year, try to get your boss to give you a year off.
No mercy.
In modern culture, if a father doesn't like a daughter, or if a father doesn't like a husband, throws the woman on the street, she has no way to provide for herself, and she can go market herself, and we have all kind. One sin, one degradation leads to another degradation. In the Torah, it's not like that. You release her with dignity, with honor, and respect, but better than that, you marry her. Marry the captive. Don't abuse the captive, marry the captive. And take her into your bayit because you removed her from the bayit of her Abba and her Ima. Take her into your bayit. Inconvenience yourself.
Yes.
That's the grace, the chesed of the Torah. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Now I want you to focus on our verse 22. Devarim 21:22. Is anyone enjoying?
Yes.
Hallelujah.
I said, is anyone enjoying?
Hallelujah.
Devarim 21:22. If a man has committed a sin worthy of death, this is from today's parsha, then he shall be put to death, and you shall hang him on an axe tree. His body shall not remain all night upon the axe, but you shall bury him that day. There's grace. Okay? Why should he be buried that day? Because what could happen if he's not buried that day? He could be ridiculed and mocked and degraded, and the heart of the Torah is to spare the human being from humiliation and degradation, and the heart of the Torah is to build and protect the integrity of Yahweh's creation, his highest creation, the human race.
Even in death.
Do you understand? So you shall not leave his body on the tree all night, but you shall bury him that day, for he that is hung is cursed by Elohim. That your land be not defiled, which Yahweh your Elohim gives you as an inheritance. It is this undeserving corpse, what's hanging when a sinner who is legally tried and found guilty of death, according to Torah law, is hung on a tree. At that moment, the Torah teaches that this undeserving sinner, who is now an undeserving hanging corpse,
Yeah.
even at that low point, that corpse carries the value of the dignity of Yahweh's creation, mankind.
Even dead.
You may not allow his body to remain on the tree overnight, because a person who has been hanged has become a curse to Yahweh. Are you with me? So we went from military, and the whole point of starting with the military battles of Israel is to see that Israel doesn't wage wars like the nations. We are to wage offensive wars for self-defense, and when we capture the captives, we are to feed them, clothe them, pray for them, give them haven, give them comfort, and eventually, if they desire to leave, send them out without conditions, unconditional love to be sent forth. Because we're Israel. The heathens capture the captives, capture the prisoners of war, and they abuse them. They don't provide for them and marry them and love them and restore them and help them mourn 30 days to overcome the fact that they're separated forever from their families.
Right.
They abuse them or market them or make merchandise of them. But in Israel it shall not be so. You shall go forth, but when you go forth, don't wait for miracles. You do the fighting, you do the work, you do the standing, you do the warfare, and when your life is grounded and rooted in integrity and righteousness, Yahweh will give you the victory.
Amen.
And then when you overcome the least desirable, those who are the most vulnerable, at the point of their highest humiliation, then you take them into your house, then you clothe them, then you feed them, and that's exactly what Yeshua taught.
That's right.
Do good to those who persecute you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who despitefully use you and persecute you. For I say to you, in this manner they persecuted the prophets who went before you. That's what Yeshua is teaching here, the Torah.
Yes.
How to conquer our enemies and then to love our enemies. That's exactly what Yeshua came to do. He came to remind Jewish Israel how far from grace they had actually fallen. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. But it's not so simple. It says here, his body shall not remain all night on the tree. You shall bury him that day. Because he's a curse of Elohim. Even a human being who is a corpse, who was cursed by Elohim, Even on the day of his burial, Yahweh says, don't you dare abuse that vulnerable corpse that may be valuable to someone in his family, that may mean a lot to someone in his family. You are to bury them, not only bury them that night in the Hebraic mind. Giving someone a proper burial is a high form of praise and a high form of valuing the dignity of human life. To withhold proper burial in the Hebraic mind is to withhold the dignity of human life, even in death. Which is why Hebrews don't burn their dead, we bury our dead.
That's right.
Hallelujah.
Because when we withhold a funeral and we stick them in a crematory with a box and a number in a wall, we are robbing them and removing them the dignity of death, which is the last stage of life. Yahweh's love and heart for Israel, renewed covenant Israel, is that even in death, we are to have the fullness of dignity that we can possibly have. And if I had to do it all over again, I would not cremate my mama. I went to one of my mother's friends, and she said yes. At one time, we heard her. She said she would like to be cremated. And we confirmed it. Oh yeah, somebody else said that's true. You know, she would like to be cremated. Okay, that's not Yahweh. Yahweh says, even those who are cursed by me must be taken down that same day and given a proper burial. Do you understand the principle of Torah? The dignity of human life. Even in death, even a death of a cursed individual who's cursed by Yahweh deserves a decency and respect in death. Make sense? So yes, we are to wage war, but we are to treat both the dead and the captive with decency and honor, or else Yahweh will wage war, but he won't go up with us. We'll be like Israel when Yahweh said, I will not be with you. The Ark of the Covenant will not leave the camp. They went up on the hills and they were routed by what? The inhabitants of the land. Amen. It is this undeserving corpse that the Torah chooses to teach us the value of dignity of all Yahweh's creation. You may not allow his body to remain on the tree overnight, because a person who is hanged is cursed by Yahweh. Now listen, it's about to get interesting. Okay? That's just a little bit of the introduction, setting the table. In Hebraic law, or let me pin it down a little bit more. In Jewish law, there are two explanations given for this hook. What is a hook? What is Yahweh doing here? I mean, this dude is cursed. This dude is filthy. This dude might have been a rebel against Yahweh. Get rid of him, man. Get him out of the picture. He's dead. Yahweh said not only he's dead, he's cursed. He's the cursed dead. Are we on?
We're on.
Are we going?
Let's go. Come on. Are we there yet?
So rather than just treat him the way he is, which is cursed by Yahweh, now we got to go out of our way to treat him like royalty and make sure that he's not subject to further public ridicule and get him down that same day. Now here's what our sages teach. Number one, according to the majority of our sages, the one who blasphemes Yahweh or performs idol worship are the only two types of people that can be hung. Write it down. According to our understanding of the sages, there are two types of people, only two types, that can be hung on a tree. Either they are guilty of blasphemy or idolatry. I'll say that again. They are either guilty of idolatry or blasphemy. Amen. No one else can be hung on a tree. Not for thieving, not for robbing, not for stealing, not for killing, not for rape, not for mutilation, not for kidnapping. Only two types of individuals were hung on a tree: those who committed blasphemy and those who were guilty of idolatry. Okay? It is interesting that Yeshua our Mashiach was accused of both these things. Let's turn with me, please, to Matityahu 26. Matityahu 26. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. This is his Shabbat, you're his Talmidim. That means tune in. Okay? But now we become students. Don't just sit there and take up a seat. Study with me. Listen carefully and study with me. Matityahu 26. Matityahu 26 in verse 64. Yahshua said to the Kohen Hagadol, let's go back to 63. Matityahu 26, 63, page 997 in your Restoration Scriptures. If you don't have a Restoration Scriptures, please get one. They are selling out very quickly. I have orders to fill of 100 here and 20 there. They are selling out very, very quickly. There is nothing like this in terms of study notes. Make sure you get your copy. I'm not doing it to sell Bibles, but to make sure you have several copies before they're out of print. Matityahu 26, 63. But Yeshua kept his silence before the Sanhedrin. And the Kohen HaGadol answered and said to him, I put you under oath before the living Elohim, that you tell us whether you are the Moshiach, the Son of the Almighty. Now he had to answer. He couldn't keep silent because the Kohen HaGadol put him under oath. And if you read in the Torah, if the Kohen HaGadol put you under oath, you must speak up. If Yeshua kept silent, he couldn't have been the Mashiach. Once you're under oath by the Kohen HaGadol, you must speak. To pull the silent treatment with the Kohen HaGadol got you thrown out, and you were in bigger trouble than if you had opened your mouth. The worst thing you can do is keep your mouth closed in front of the Kohen HaGadol. And isn't that true in Israel too today? One of the worst things we can do is not speak what's in our heart when things are hurting us and things are aching us, because Yeshua is our high priest. So when Yeshua, our high priest, says talk, you need to talk.
Amen. Yes.
Matityahu 26. Now he had no choice. He had to talk. The Kohen HaGadol put him under oath, and he said, I adjure thee, or I put you under oath before Elohim. Tell us, are you Moshiach ben Yahweh? Now watch this.